My husband had just returned from a secret 2-week luxury trip with his work wife. He was still smiling when I asked him one simple question that instantly wiped the joy from his face and replaced it with pure terror. 15 days earlier, I had kissed Milo goodbye in our Portland apartment hallway. I straightened his collar, told him to go win the big account in Miami, the one he said could change everything for us. 15 days later, he walked back through that same door. He had the sun on his skin, a polished travel story on his tongue, and no idea that I had spent every quiet night turning hotel charges, deleted messages, and one very interesting lease into a timeline so precise it could split a marriage open without me ever needing to raise my voice. By the time his key turned in the lock, I was ready for him. But that was just the beginning of what he was about to face. I met Milo in Portland back when a wrong coffee order and a patient smile could still feel like fate. We built the kind of marriage that didn't look flashy from the outside but felt real from the inside. Our small apartment, rent that made us laugh in disbelief every first of the month, waterfront walks, anniversary cards written in his own hand, an orange rescue cat who preferred his lap and tolerated me out of courtesy. For 11 years, our life was made of small rituals that felt steady enough to trust. That was why Hazel did not alarm me at first. She arrived in our marriage as a name in his office stories, a new account manager, smart, funny, sharp in meetings. Then over time, she became a recurring character in his sentences. Hazel had a great idea for the pitch. Hazel and I grabbed lunch to sort out the client notes. Hazel is basically my work wife at this point. He said that one with a laugh. I laughed too because that is what women do when we are trying to prove we are secure. We do not want to be the person who turns every coworker into a threat. We do not want to be the wife who notices the screen angle, the late night texts, the new cologne, the sudden gym membership, the strange brightness in a husband who used to come home tired. So I made an art of explaining everything away. But what happened next changed everything I thought I knew. Then Milo came home one Tuesday evening practically glowing. I got it, he said, dropping his briefcase by the door. The Miami account, they want me down there for the whole process. Presentations, dinners, relationship building, about 2 weeks. I looked up from the nonprofit proposal on our kitchen table and smiled. That's huge. It could change everything, he said. I believed him. That was the most ordinary part of all of this. I believed my husband. I helped him pack the following Friday. His good shirts, the tie his father gave him, the charger he would have forgotten if I hadn't tucked it into the side pocket myself. At the door he kissed me and said, I'll call every night. Even if it's late, I said. For 3 days he did short calls, tired voice, busy schedule. Hotel was fine, meetings were intense, client dinners ran long. It all sounded plausible enough to hold. I thought that was the worst part, that he was just busy, but I was so wrong. Then the call stopped and the text took over. Too exhausted to talk, heading to bed, love you. By day 5, the quiet in our apartment started to feel wrong. I told myself it was travel pressure, deadlines, all the things reasonable wives tell themselves when they want to stay on the safe side of belief. But something in me had already begun stepping away from the story he was selling. That afternoon, I called the hotel he had mentioned in passing. Can you connect me to Milo Brennan's room, please? A pause, typing. I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't have a guest by that name. I called 2 more locations, nothing. That's when I realized something was very wrong. That night I opened our joint card account at the kitchen table with the overhead light off and the city lights reflecting faintly in the window behind my laptop. Florida charges, yes, not Miami, Key West, dinner by the water, resort fees, a private excursion. Then the one that made everything sharpen into focus, a package for 2 at a resort known for sunsets and champagne. I sat there for a long time looking at the screen while the whole shape of my marriage rearranged itself. The betrayal was a physical ache, but it was nothing compared to what I found next. The next morning I checked. What he had forgotten was still linked to the shared cloud. Messages, not all of them, but enough. Hazel's name was everywhere, not just logistics, not just work, there were plans. There was longing, there was the easy language of 2 people who had been building a private room inside my life and furnishing it slowly. By the second night I had a spreadsheet. By the third I had screenshots. By the fourth I had the folder from the bottom drawer of his desk, a Portland apartment lease with both their names on it, furniture orders clipped together, paint swatches stapled at the corner like they had all the time in the world to imagine another home. I did not cry when I found that. I thought I had hit rock bottom with that discovery. I was wrong again. I cried later on the bedroom floor when I realized the date on one string of messages overlapped with a day I had spent alone in a hospital waiting room, calling him again and again while he answered like I was interrupting something important. That was the day I truly broke. My grandmother had fallen and I was terrified, reaching out for my husband, and he was too busy building another life to care. After that, I got very calm. The tears stopped. A cold, hard resolve took their place. I knew exactly what I had to do. When Milo came home on day 15, I had already washed the dishes, vacuumed the floors, and set out the ingredients for his favorite pasta. I wore the blue dress he once said made me look unforgettable. I wanted him to walk into warmth, order, familiarity. I wanted him relaxed enough to let the first crack show clearly. He stepped through the apartment door smiling. I missed you. I let him kiss my cheek, let him set down the duffel, let him talk. Every word he spoke was a fresh lie, and I savored it. How was Miami? I asked. Hot, busy, brutal, he said with a little sigh. Back-to-back meetings, I need a shower. He moved toward the bedroom and started unzipping his suitcase. I followed more slowly, leaning against the doorway like I was only there to keep him company. I'm sure Hazel was helpful, I said. His hand stopped on a folded shirt. What? I kept my voice light. I said I'm sure Hazel was helpful. He made himself keep moving. Yeah, of course, she did great. I nodded once and let the silence gather. Then I said almost casually, I was surprised when I found out. This time he looked at me fully. Found out what? I turned toward the kitchen. I'm making your favorite for dinner, I said, the one with the sauce that takes forever. He followed me slower now, a leaner. I set the cutting board on the counter. Picked up the knife, placed the vegetables beside it with deliberate care. Then I turned just enough to meet his eyes and asked the one question I had rehearsed in the dark for 5 nights straight, the question that would unravel his entire secret life in a single breath. Did Hazel tell you everything before you came home? He froze, his face losing all color. He mumbled something, a weak denial. What are you talking about? He stammered, his eyes darting. I'm talking about how you spent 2 weeks in Key West, not Miami. I'm talking about the apartment lease, the furniture orders, the late-night messages where you called her your future, not your work wife. His jaw went slack. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. But I wasn't done, not yet. I took a step closer, my voice dropping to a whisper, filled with a cold rage he'd never heard from me before. And I'm also talking about what I found out about Hazel when I called her old landlord, and then her previous apartment complex, pretending to be a background checker for a new job. They didn't tell me much, but her next-door neighbor was a chatty woman who felt terrible about all the drama Hazel caused for her past boyfriends. His eyes were wide now, full of genuine fear. He tried to speak, but no words came out. He knew. He could feel the trap closing around him. So Milo, I said, letting the silence stretch, watching him squirm, every ounce of his arrogance draining away. Do you know what condition she has? His face was a mask of pure terror. He stumbled backward, knocking over a kitchen chair. What? He gasped, his voice barely a whisper. What condition? I just stared at him, my expression unreadable. I watched the realization dawn on his face, a creeping horror that began to twist his features. He knew exactly what kind of condition I was talking about. His mind raced, calculating, remembering, panicking. He didn't need me to say another word. The implication was enough. He didn't ask what I meant. He didn't ask how I knew. He just turned, grabbed his phone, and ran out the door, probably to call Hazel or a doctor or both. I watched him go, the door slamming behind him. I picked up the fallen chair, calmly put it back in its place. The pasta sauce would be fine. I knew he wouldn't be back, not for dinner, not for anything, and as I stirred the sauce, I smiled. Because the real twist, I didn't get this information from a neighbor. I had found something far more damning in his shared cloud data, a series of panic-stricken messages from Hazel to a friend detailing a recent doctor's visit and a concerning diagnosis she was trying to keep secret. He had no idea I had that information before he even left for Key West. I just needed him to come home so I could watch his smile die, and it did.